So, most of you probably aware that Israel is under a massive attack by Hamas, which is the Palestinian terrorist group. Hamas fired roughly 5,000 rockets in the initial stages and continues to pursue the attack from the Gaza Strip into Israel. You can see here the Gaza Strip in Israel. This video or this footage shows the fires that have been caused by the rocket attack. Apparently, terrorists from Hamas have been going door to door, kidnapping or trying to kill innocent families. There's been video footage of um, Israelis murdered in vehicles as they were trying to flee. There's also footage of Israelis fleeing their homes near the Gaza Strip being gunned down, neither of which I can show you, but they're out there. What I can show you is this footage showing the capture of Nahalaz, a military base in southern Israel, earlier by Hamas fighters. There was a number of armor personnel carriers, including 6 Namr heavy APCs. You can hear the fighting in the background, including chants of Allahu Akbar.
الله أكبر الله أكبر يا مجاهدين الله أكبر يا مقاتلين الله أكبر يا عظماء أين قواتكم لا نرى إلا رجالنا لا نرى إلا مقاتلين الله أكبر.
Obviously, dead bodies lying around. I'm gonna have to cut that out, unfortunately. In response, the Israeli Defense Forces announcing the initiation of Operation Iron Sword against Hamas in and around the southern portion of Israel and Gaza Strip. They're also advising that people in Israel prepare for any action that develops out of Lebanon, which is where Hezbollah would be coming from. As many as 10,000 reservists are being recalled in the Israeli Defense Force. And a full mobilization has gone underway in the northern, eastern, and southern fronts of the country. Hamas has stated that they're preparing for a ground invasion into the Gaza Strip. This is footage of Israeli Defense Force aircraft conducting bombing runs in and around Hamas-held positions near Israel and the south of Israel. Listening to Khan Rashet radio, which is in South Israel, there are Israeli citizens, reporting on cell phones that local border areas, including kibbutzes, has been occupied. The IDF Air Force now is bombing Gaza Strip. There was footage earlier showing entire carloads of Israeli civilians being shot in this town. The Israeli special police have began arresting Hamas terrorists that were activated within various towns and cities in Israel. You can see footage here. These are the images of those captured Hamas fighters. Now, there are unconfirmed reports that the Egyptian government has informed Israel that Hezbollah has notified them through back channels that Hezbollah will join the war if Israel decides to launch a ground invasion of Gaza Strip. A senior U.S. defense official stated that the Department of Defense and Central Command is keeping a close eye on the war in Israel, as well as many moves by other players in the region, including Iran. Hamas's invasion from Gaza into Israel clearly has Iranian support. This was a pretty big failure by the Mossad and other Western intelligence agencies to not see this coming. A lot of this has to do with Iranian anger in Saudi Arabia trying to negotiate normalization with Israel in the Middle East. Israel is clearly going to retaliate heavily. I don't know what the stance against Iran will be, but no one in the Gulf Cooperation Council, who generally opposed Iran, are going to be impressed by a restrained Israeli response. And these are countries like Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain, Oman. Hamas came out with a message and said that they said, quote, "We decided to put an end to all the crimes of occupation, and the time during which it was rampant without accountability has ended. We announced Operation Al-Aqsa Flood, and we were targeted with a first strike within 20 minutes, which more than 500 missiles were fired." So essentially, they're talking about how the response from Israel came down. Israel's Major General, IDF's, the Israeli Defense Forces Major General Ghassan Alayan, declares that in a message to Hamas that Hamas has opened the gates of hell into Gaza Strip. Hamas made the decision, and Hamas will bear the responsibility and pay for its deeds. This is essentially a de facto declaration of war by Iran. I don't know what that response is going to look like. I think many Western nations are going to hope for restrained efforts. Russia, Medvedev came out and said that this is a product of neo Nazis. I don't know why they would say something like that. There's no neo Nazi presence in either of these countries. It's ridiculous. But these events are going to get bigger. Israel, generally, under the guise of stability, has allowed Iran to expand all over the Middle East by trusting that Putin had their best interests. This is why they were, in general, not supportive of sending lots of weapons to Ukraine. But it's clear for years that Russia is an ally of Iran, especially during the war in Syria. And as such, Hamas has been supported by Russia and Iran. And the terror that has been taking place in Israel this morning is a direct result of this. We might be looking at one of the worst intelligence failures in Mossad history, and they're not going to take this sitting down. Initial reports show that Israeli forces have opened fire on Hezbollah fighters who were attempting to approach the Lebanese border. And again, if Hezbollah joins us from the north, that is a massive escalation. Strategically speaking, Gazans want the Israeli blockade of Gaza lifted. The Palestinians generally want statehood and to end the occupation and an end of Israeli military and settler violence, which is understandable, but it's very, very hard to see how these attacks advance any of those causes beyond just now conducting revenge attacks and all-out war going forward. Hamas and the Gaza Strip in its entirety will be lucky to be allowed to exist after what they've done today, at least if Israel is allowed to conduct operations with unrestrained warfare and the West does not stop them.